What's going on, family? Welcome to another episode of the Fatherhood Village podcast, the official home for proud fathers and mentors. I'm Dale Holloway, hosting the show with the one and only Kev Hick. Glad you all can tap in for us once again. Hey, appreciate y'all supporting the show. Please, as always, if this is your first time, subscribe, like, share the content. It's going to be a banger, trust me. All right, so for this show, special guest alert. All right, we have a very unique guests coming around to give us some game, drop some resources, some tools for us, especially those with a military background, those that have military family members. This is something you want to keep up on. All right, so please enjoy, relax with us. It's going to be a good ride. All right, so before we get into that, as usual, we're going to holler at my boy Kev Hicks. See what we've been up to. All right, Kev, what's good, baby?
Man, I'm good. Yeah, I'm chilling, man. Blessed and highly favored, bro. Just busy. Just running.
I
You
got
know
you.
how that go.
I hear it. I hear you look like you chilling. I see the
Man.
headrest back there.
Yeah, man. Look, it's hard to shut this house down for, making videos, making content, being creative, doing podcasts. And so normally we go late after the family shut down. So I'll be out in the living room, with the scenery, but I ain't got the scenic view right now because everybody else out in the living room doing their thing. So it's all good.
Right. Right. I get it. Man. The life of a father, of a husband, the center of a household, man, never stops. Never stops. I'm with you. How's that winter looking in Ohio, man?
Cold, cold and snowy. So not as cold
Cold.
as Alaska though. So look, I ain't got nothing to complain about. No complaints.
I don't know. Actually, ain't too bad. It's actually hovering in the 30s, man. That's a good look. Actually, if you ask
We
me,
be
that's a good look in Alaska.
we be like 50, 40, 20, 10, 50, 40, 20, 10. So it's all over the place. But like I
Yeah,
said, no.
just roll the dice.
Mm-hmm. You know how that
I
goes.
got you. I got you. Say less. Say less. All right. So again, as I mentioned before, we have a very special guest joining us for this show. Very insightful information that we're going to add and get into. Let me drop that banner, let folks know. All right. So this man has family roots in Barbados. He grew up in the city of Brooklyn, New York. He's currently residing in Lancaster, PA. All our Pennsylvania audiences and Brooklyn people, shout out to you all. He attended the Binghamton University in New York. He's earned his master's degree. He served in the U.S. Army for 8 years. He's taught middle school. He's an adjunct professor, real estate investor, stock
Damn.
trader. The list goes on. He hosts different events through his own venue and his company by the name of My World Entertainment. He has a free ebook for those that love ebooks or just want to pick up some new game. It's titled 12 Must Do's for Post-Military Success. All right, he's been featured in USA Today, New York Post, ABC, CNN, and he's also been individually recognized by Michelle Obama. All right, for his leadership in the veteran community. All right, he's coined the name Mr. Motivation. All right, so please welcome to the Fatherhood Village our brother, Sean Murphy. What's going on with your brother? How you been?
What's up, good people? I'm well. I appreciate the intro, man, and just thanks for having me on the show. Shouts out to you and Kev.
Hey, thanks for
Absolutely,
coming on the
man.
show, man.
It's
And
an
thanks for
honor.
doing all of that. I'm motivated just listening to the laundry list. Look, bro, I thought I was somebody until you got to like the third or fourth one. And I'm like, wait a minute. This brother's real about his. I love that, man.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Absolutely, man. Like I said, it's an honor, it's a privilege to have you on the show and to have this conversation. I know I'm excited personally because, having my background in the military, a current active duty military member. So there's a list of questions I have. And, obviously being in the military, you see those that separate from the military, those that retire, them kind of find their way and navigate their way back into the civilian sector. So it's going to be a great show. So we mentioned Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So we talked offline. So the Brooklyn Nets, I know you highly favoring those cats. How you feel about them before we get started?
Yeah, I mean, so Brooklyn, we like a state on our own, right? So anything we do, we
Yeah.
heavy,
Gotcha.
I real talk, I actually haven't been following sports heavy, you know what I'm saying, this year. Just been locked in, building out with projects. I typically tune into like the playoffs. So,
Yeah.
I'm not sure what we doing in Brooklyn sports wise, but I'm pretty sure with KD we'll get to the playoffs and then I can flick the switch and just go ham.
Yeah. That's typically how it goes. That's typically how it goes. Yeah, I see y'all had to let James Harden ride, let him slide on out
Yeah.
of there.
Let's see what Ben could
But
do.
y'all gonna be tough. Y'all gonna
Yeah.
be tough though. That's what's up. That's up. So yeah, first things first, I wanted to ask what influenced you to join the military and what ultimately led you to separate after those 8 years.
Check. So yeah, you started, I attended Binghamton University, so State University Binghamton. Shouts out to SUNY. My mom's told me, she said, "You ain't ready for college. You need to take your behind in the military." And my mom's from Barbados, so any of my Caribbean people know our parents pretty strict, So mom's like, "We don't got no money, and you need discipline." Well, my guidance counselor at the time, she was like, "No, Sean, you're a B student. We can get you into school." So fast forward, I get accepted to Binghamton. I'm like, I'm all in. I got freedom, really, right? So went to college, and I had a ball, fellas. Like best 2 years of my life, arguably. Notice I said 2. It was a 4-year school. Well, I ended up having a 1.7 GPA because I was that party dude. I was rocking out, right? So I came to like this crossroad of like, something has to change. And I knew I couldn't go back to the hood. Everybody was like, just take a semester off. But historically, that leads to you never going back. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to do the military. I've always been a fan of, the be all that you can be kind of, commercial. And I went all in. So that was like, it was like my only option was the military. And that's what prompted me failing at college prompted me to go the military route. Now the second part of the question. So why did I get out? Great question. So there's a lot of meat in the middle, right? But I get out, I'm E6 promotable, and I think I got out in August. I would have had to wait till either January or February for the list to come out. So I would have to re-enlist with the hopes of making the list to go to get 7. And I was like, you know what? I was already doing like my promoter party stuff. And I was just ready to kind of like not have to worry about, going through chain of command and doing X, Y, and Z. I said, I'm just going to bet on me. And my plan was I ran S1 shop. So my plan was because the Army was pivoting, they was bringing in civilians to run the E7 slot and run the whole S shop. I was like, all right, I could get out with my social capital. I know I could get like my job as a civilian. So that was the plan. But that year, I forget the president, but we had a stop freeze and like it was no hiring, no nothing. So my plan went down the drain when I got out and I transitioned, and I wasn't really focused on, you go through the transition classes back in the day. They called, I think it was ACAP. And I wasn't locked in. I saw that as, free time away from, work and just to kind of chill. And that was an error in hindsight because then I got out and it was premature because I didn't really have a solid plan, if that makes sense. So that's kind of how I got out.
How did you come up out of the slump of not being like prepared for what was happening? Because I think what you're mentioning and what I remember, because my brother was also in the military and I work at the VA, so I've been surrounded by it for quite some time. I remember during the Obama administration when he first got in, there was a hiring freeze, right? And so it might have been 09. When 09, 2010, when everything got cut. So as soon as I got to my VA job, it was like, oh, we ain't getting no raises. Like I remember we was very salty, and I remember it was a drastic freeze. It was layoffs and furloughs right past here in Dayton, as you know. So everything was affected by that portion of time. So I think that's what you're talking about, like the 2010, 2011 period. If that's what you're talking about. Like, what brought you out of that? Like, what was the first move that you made that put you on a momentum course to really just, like I said, when he was
Mhm.
listing that shit off, it's a
Mhm.
period of it's a pyramid of greatness that you're building and it's
Mhm.
legacy. What put you on the path of that?
Yeah, so what you're talking about happened for me in '06 with
Mm,
it had to be the Bush administration.
mm,
Um, and I go from this dude that's I'm doing it. I'm all things needed, mission essential, critical personnel, and then I go to unemployed, broke. Not like because any dough I had, I had to eat off for a period of time. The only thing I had going for me was substitute teaching.
okay.
And I did that for I think the year or so. And so that was, when I do write this book and tell the story, that's my Blue
Mm,
Funk chapter.
mm,
And it's fun because I'm like 3-4 steps ahead of the game. So I was like crushed, right? But
yeah,
I think, whenever we go through things, we all go through traumatic experiences in life in some capacity.
right.
And it's all about your rally, right? Are you going to use these experiences, these setbacks, as an anchor that pulls you down, or will
Mm,
they be your wings, right?
right.
And what clicked for me, I was kind of just reflecting, and I'm like just thinking about my mom. So my mom's came from Barbados. Her mom's was illiterate. Her dad was illiterate. Her
Mm,
dad, my grandfather, he's a fisherman. He bring fish in. My grandmom sold them at sea. I mean, at the market.
yeah,
And my mom's left and came to the United States, in pursuit of change and to be able to just help them out, make better for herself.
right.
And she didn't necessarily have that plan. She figured it out. She dug deep, and like I had to recall like the sacrifices she made so that
Hmm.
I would have a chance at
Yeah.
making it. You know what I'm saying? And just really, kind of realigning my thoughts to just right like Mom Dukes did all this, like this can't be it. And I
Hmm.
started with that mindset. I was in that victim mindset, like Uncle Sam done slime me, my leadership should have did this. And it was
Yeah.
all the dude in the mirror that looked back, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So when I wrapped my mind around like, like self accountability. It was my fault. Now what am I
Hmm.
gonna do? So it started there, just taking ownership, and just really pivoting with mindset to that growth. Like, yo, I was a beast in the military. I mean, I
Hmm.
remember basic training. I couldn't shoot. I had to figure it out. See, a lot of times
Hmm.
we get caught up thinking, it's talent that you need to be successful. You gotta be smart. But no,
Right.
you gotta put in effort. You gotta
Right.
focus. So that's what I had. I focused on getting out the pits, figuring it out, and going next level. You know what I mean? Because I had this burning desire to succeed. So
Hmm.
I say focus and effort was the thing that was the engine that really pushed me. And then I go down through a few like the people around me, you gotta get rid of the toxic people. If people around you ain't pushing you forward, because think about this: when somebody passed away, loved one, friend, whatever, they got a whole was it 6 9 was they pallbearers? They lifting you up your casket. Well, guess what?
Hmm.
I want y'all jokers to lift me up while I'm here.
Right
You know,
now.
was identifying those people that you need to lift you up right now. You know what I'm saying? And
Hmm.
that's what I had to do. I had to do a friend audit. I had to figure out like, yo, y'all are toxic, y'all are draining me. I got to go. So sometimes I had to find a virtual mentor. You know what I'm saying? I had to
Hmm.
listen to talks, listen to
Right.
motivational talks, and that just pours into you. Then it gets you fired up because you hear other people's stories. You hear rallies of other people, and you be like, yo,
Hmm.
so and so did this. It is go time. And that was what really jump started me to kind of just go and just keep, building. Cause like, I talk about this in my class. We talk about just failure. Like I've always seen obstacles as opportunities. You make them the stepping stones, and you just think just one foot at a time, just go in front and just keep going slow and steady. So that's kind of the path to getting on that track to
Hmm.
attain what success looks like for me.
Solid, solid. So for me, At this moment, and again, he listed off a laundry list, a pyramid, a rap sheet, right? Of things that you've accomplished and you've
Yeah.
done. For me, my curiosity is just as a man who's trying to build a legacy, right? As a man who has a brother who is a war veteran, infantry, army, like who's felt obviously the effect from the other side of it, right? Observing a family member come out of that struggle and still build. Because my brother's an entrepreneur, and he kind of had the same. He kind of had a similar thing. You know, when he first got back, it was a weird transition. It was around the same time period, and he had to, like, stock food at the grocery store overnight, and like he went from being in leadership in the military on the battlefield, like infantry missions, to Kroger's, or I don't know if y'all got the grocery. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've seen the same kind of process happen, and working at the VA. Of course, every day I see people coming back, like not having a clue, right? And so for you to pull yourself back into that position using that motivation that you got from your moms, and the experience that you witnessed her survive, like, if she can do it, I know I can do it.
Yeah.
At what point did the passion and the purpose go from, because I speak a lot about purpose. At what point did the passion and the purpose go from get myself out of this hole to a specific thing? Like, who am I? What do I want to accomplish? What do I stand for? Like, what would you say the turning point was? Not just surviving or succeeding, but purpose entered your life. Like, when was that moment?
Solid question. So I you know, people come into your life for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes, right? And I got out after I got out of the military. I ended up going to Iraq as a contractor, and ended up dating a shorty, and she was in education, and her commitment to her students blew my mind. Like, she's like, hey, they just text me, I gotta go to the recital. There's a game, and I'm like, wait, these are your students? You teach? Like, her level of, like, she was bought in to, like, their life, and I was just blown away. You know, I'd always dealt with, whether you're not gonna make it, you need to, get held back. It wasn't never, like, I can't connect positivity across the teachers in that adolescent years, like I did watching her do, and I was just like, wow. So here she goes. She's part of this organization called Teach for America. Teach for America historically, recruited recent college grads to go into low-income communities and give back in the form of as an educator for at least 2 years. But they were about building lifelong leaders in education, right? So she's like, yo, Sean, like, you military dude, like, this is you. But historically, they would recruit like the Harvard, Princeton alums, and I'm like, that's not me. Well, I said, you know what? I'm gonna throw my hat in there. I was this much bought into, like, her passion, right? Because what drove me is I wanted to be the educator I never saw coming up, right? Like a brother and head of the class, spitting game, bruh. I pair that with one of my Army values, selfless service, like putting the welfare of others before your own. I think, if you look at my history, like, I live an altruistic life, teaching, nonprofit board, just coaching, mentoring. Like, I'm about pouring into now motivational speaking. So it just aligned. And so that's what got me into even applying or knowing about the organization. So fast forward, I get accepted, and then I go to Wilmington, Delaware, all boys middle school, Prestige Academy, bro. The school leader, Jack Perry, shouts out to JP, Dr. Perry. He had a vision of opening a school, and he was probably like 5 or 6 or 7. I can't remember. His mother tells the story better than me. And he brought that thing to life, and I got to be part of that vision in year 2. And then we had about 8 brothers on staff. Like, parents used to come in there blown away. You know what I mean? Because you don't see that. And we used to pour into them boys. We used to get them love and just go hard. Like, yo, this is how you sidestep them landmines in the hood. This is what success is like. It was just super dope. And that, for me, and I'll tell this story to close out the question. I was an educator, yes, but I learned so much.
Yeah.
2 words: sense of possibility. 3. My young boy Brick, he came to me. I taught special ed, right? He
Mm-hmm.
came to me. He was on like maybe a 3rd or 4th grade reading level. This 6th grade now.
Mm-hmm.
And they would lead with their IEP. I got a disability, and I'm like, bro, listen, I'm about to go hard with you. I need you to meet me, give me some energy, and I got you. We're gonna get you where you need to be and beyond, right? So, bro, collaborative, right? It's not even about me. I used to check it with all his teachers. Yo, how you connect with Brick? What's working for you? And they were like, oh, I do this, I do that. And we would just collectively do what we know was working in other classes to kind of make sure he got it.
Yeah.
Bro, he grew, I want to say 8 years in reading that one school year.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, and this dude went from like a dude that never spoke to like, you can like next year, he was just a social butterfly, like confident. And I'm just like, wow, what focus and effort. And look what he created him. I'm just a guy. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I drew from that, man. And I ran. I ain't stopped running since. Because I know what we can do when we really lock in and we really care. You know what I'm saying? About pouring back into others. So for me, from the educator, the mentor, from the leader, I'm always like, how can I help you get next level? Whenever I meet people, I always lead with, how can I help you get next level? How can I connect the dots? You know what I'm saying? Because like I know I'm gonna be all right. Some people ain't gonna be all right.
Right.
Some people you gotta really hold them and say, we're gonna cross this line together. You know what I mean? So I'll pause there. I think that kind of landed the plane.
I think first of all, man, that's dope. I think we don't have a thing in our community where that's culture as much as it should be, right? Our culture a lot of times is watching each other shine, right? Our culture is shining in the faces of each other. Our culture is being the one that got out. Our culture is being the one that's doing well or thriving in the situation amongst the failures around us, right? Like we have this competitive edge that is not turned against our oppressors or the people who oppose our success. It's turned against the others that look just like us. So I just want to commend you for starting there. It's interesting that that's your origin story, because today I was watching a bunch of clips on the movie Lean on Me. Right. So like that energy was just with me today. And I was like, man, I ain't watched this stuff in years. Why am I watching this stuff? Why do I feel like that? And I felt like my spirit understood that I was talking to somebody who embodied that same type of passion to change not only the students that they encountered, but our community. So maybe it was a prophetic thought or emotion that I had about coming onto this podcast. But man, I respect all of that, what you're doing, man. I appreciate that. Dale, you back with us, baby?
I hope so.
There he is.
Yeah, it's got to be the janky network, obviously. But yeah, so I was catching as much as I could, resetting and troubleshooting. But so I'm not sure if it was covered yet, but hearing what I did here, what were some skills, some behaviors, or some cultural traits that you gained while in the military that kind of stuck with you, that's kind of engraved in you and help you at this point in life right now?
Yeah, a few that jump out at me. Active listening. Like, first of all, everybody has a story, right? That's one. 2, the one thing people love to do is talk about themselves. So guess what? I give them a platform. You know what I'm saying? I have surgical questions, though, or prompts that lead me to kind of connect the dots and, paint the picture. Who am I really in front of, And, I mean, you learn so much from people, bro. So, I mean, I've been based mainly, I say, Leonardwood, Hood, Jackson, Korea. But anyway, in the States, wherever I was at, we had a 3-day weekend, 4-day weekend, and the homies was going home, and I'm in. And I just got to see so much and learn so much about people that it helped me as a leader understand and be, empathetic when I'm dealing with people. Like, yo, let me be in their shoes. Let me really understand what's a contributing factor to X, Y, or Z. So that was a really, really powerful thing I took away from that. The ability to communicate. I was really young when I made rank relatively fast. So I'd be in charge of people older than me a lot, and just having to being open-minded, reserved, so give people the respect, but they gotta also respect the rank, and
Right.
creating that mutual relationship, that a mutually respecting relationship. That was another thing. So your active listening, communication, and then just leadership, I went in the military, kind of lost, kind of trying to figure it out, and once you once you're responsible for others, it's a whole different ballgame. I give you a quick story, and everybody's not built for leadership. I'm on
Right.
duty. I think I was overseas. I'm E5, and I had a young E4, and I'm like, teammate, why you should be E5? What's going on? Person's like, if anything happens today and it's my fault on duty, you're responsible, sorry. They was like, I don't want that responsibility ever. And I'm thinking, wow, really? Like, I'm okay with that. Like, and some leaders are different, but when you're in leadership, you take it like, hey, listen up, it happened on my watch. I got it. My bad. And I'll take care of me and my trooper talk offline. And that's that leadership, taking ownership, stepping up, and then just taking it for the team, in my opinion. And that's one of the things I took away in the civilian sector. They quick to pass the buck. So when somebody stepping up, they're like, ooh,
One point.
Yeah.
jokers don't want to get written up.
Absolutely. And to, like I said, those are things obviously are universal, right? And those are some of the things that I'm picking up as well. And I had a chance to really, emphasize, especially as in my position right now as a PME instructor, professional military education instructor. Those are the things that we harp on and that we teach, and that we kind of build our curriculum around. Obviously, that communication factor. That's, without communication, what do you really have? When building those relationships, and active listening. We all kind of slip up at times because we're so busy, we're distracted, we're inundated with so many things throughout our course of the day, and sometimes we're not ready to receive information, and sometimes we're ready to give, and someone else is not able to receive coherently. So, like I said, it's a test to a lot of things, but that's good that you learn those. You constructed those qualities, and you bringing them forth with you outside of the military, and helping other individuals as you spoke of. So, I definitely applaud that.
So what right now is your biggest passion, like, or maybe not the biggest passion, but the biggest practice in exercising the passion that you have for not only leadership but leading people in the right direction? Because we always speak about leadership. Everybody wants to be a leader, and as you said, everybody's not equipped to be a leader, right? And everybody don't want, and then there are those who obviously don't want the responsibility, but of those who do, many of them don't have anywhere to lead anyone. Right. So we have a lot of people in society, especially social media, podcast world, YouTube, TikTok, wherever else they can get their voices heard, who want to be leaders, but are leading people nowhere, and should probably sit the hell down and shut up. Right. So in your experience at the moment, and just what your direction is now, what is the most passionate leadership aspect that you're applying to your goal and your journey at the moment, right? Because you have this history of this. So how are you exercising these things now? And what is your purpose for applying leadership today as opposed to when you first started? Has it evolved? Has it changed? Or has your methodology just changed, and maybe your impact and the globalization of the message?
Your questions be loaded, buddy. So I'd say first and foremost, so now I'm a father, right? So my daughter's 5. That's V Rain, future Olympic champ in gymnastics. And Max is 3. We still figuring out what he's gonna, take over. So they're watching everything I do. They're watching everything, So from prepping to be on podcasts to, giving talks to, I've been teaching on Zoom so they get to see me in action. My daughter know if they get up early and they stay, where's daddy? Well, downstairs in the office. I don't care if it's 4:30, 5:30. You know,
Yeah.
so they're seeing these things, and I'm being intentional with them, right? So when I look at, you know, what the child I want to see at 18, you know, it starts with, you know, teaching them about focus, effort, being able to sit still and apply yourself to a thing, right? Then it's about work ethic. You know, my kids know, my daughter right now, I don't care if she's playing with friends, if she's doing, if I'm saying, baby, you want to go train? Yes, sir. She's gonna get her gear on, and we're gonna hit the track, and we're gonna run stairs, and we're gonna do laps. She know, like, then this is at 5, right?
Yeah.
That mindset of, delusional self-confidence. At 5, we got that mama mentality. You know what I mean? So these are things. So bro, listen, I had to pour into scores of kids over the years, adults. I was like, oh, I got just these 2? Oh, got this. You know what I'm saying? So they get that firsthand. They give me some motivation. Anything I'm doing with my collegiate students, when you're talking about, you know, she could break down the cash flow quadrant. You know what I'm saying?
Nice.
Like we on that type tip, you know, and people be like, but they're only 3, they're only 4. I said, listen, my man, my good friend, my boy Dozer, shouts out to Dozer. He was an Army dude too, met him in Korea. He gave me advice, priceless. He said, Murph, you about to have, when I was gonna have my first one, he said, Murph, 0 limitations. Throw everything at them. And I took that, bros, and I mean, literally throw it at them, and my expectations through the roof, and it works. Like right now, like it pays off, and this is at 5 and 3. So that's where I start with my practice of leadership in the house. You know what I'm saying? It starts here. And then, you know, when I extend out, I'm just fortunate and blessed, man. Like I teach a college course. Remember, I dropped out of college, but now I teach a college course on how to be successful in what? College. Crazy how life works. So I got a high school that gets to opt into my class. So I got seniors that I pour into 3 days a week. I got the college students that, you know, it's a scale from 19 to, you know, 49, depends on where they're at in life. I get to pour into them every day. And it's just super dope. So when you say, you know, you talk through, you know, what's your purpose, right? For me, it's expansion. You know, when I was teaching middle school and high school, even now, I got a scholar here. I'm pouring into them. They getting that. And that may trickle out. The message may go to a sibling when they get home, maybe a friend in the streets, maybe their family. But when you start on this motivational speaking wave, and now, I don't know if I told you, I'm dropping this album this year. I dropped my single entitled Why, where I'm mixing motivational speaking with dope beats and that bringing that energy. Now I'm going, it goes across borders. It's that global, that expansion. I had a dude, buddy, my homie, he's in Paris. He's like, yo, your song is powerful. You know what I mean? I appreciate you. I got my boys in Nigeria. It's like I'm not touching them without this single.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when you talk that's what it's about, you know, and that's gonna outlive me. That's gonna keep going now. And I'll end with this. One of the reasons for even doing the album, I'm not a musician by you know, like that's not just me. But 2 things. One, I can do anything. I can do anything. Once I lock in, I'll figure it out. And I go at a really fast pace. I told my daughter, I said, baby, you got to dream big. You got to have a vision, big vision. Then you got to figure out, who do I need to help me bring this vision to life? Identify those people, put them to work, clear expectations. Then you get to work. And I've been telling her this, but fellas, with this project, I got to show her. Like this legit's in August. I started. I called my man Keith Jones. He's, you know, produced with a Machine. Shouts out to the Atlanta boys. I'm like, yo, Keith, I need to do an album. He's like, Murph, what you talking about? And I sent them this track that I had listened to, and he's like, oh, we could do this. We could kill this. We got the beats. Da 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 da. I said, what I do next? Just start writing. So my daughter's there with me. I'm like, baby, we about to do an album. We start writing, and my boys out here. So now I'm tapped into the creative community, the youth, in Lancaster, PA. So they got this mobile studio. Who knew, right?
Yeah.
So they in my basement with the mobile studio. And my daughter down there, my son. So my daughter's on the first track, Blueprint, and then she's featured on another one. And it's just super. Now she sees it on streaming on TV. You know, it's on videos playing. And that's just crazy. That's the power of just like, you know, really showing her. It was bigger than reading it in the book and me just saying it.
Mm-hmm.
She got that example, that step by step, and I told her each step is going on. This was going to happen. Now we're going to do this, and you're a part of that. So, you know, long answer to kind of just give you a picture of, you know, when I think about leadership and how I am applying it, and how that ties into like my purpose.
Yes, I dig that. You teaching taking action, and if that is the most valuable lesson our people can learn. And you know, when somebody takes a village, man, that takes action. And so your commitment to action is just admirable, brother. I appreciate you.
Appreciate
Absolutely. Absolutely. And obviously, you know, you brought up failure and how in a lot of ways, like you said, you talked about how you dropped out of college, and now with that failure, that's like the biggest tool, the biggest reference, the strongest reference you can have when teaching about how to be successful. Like if you haven't really felt that failure and been at those certain lows, you know what I'm saying? It's hard to will people in, you know. So, and like I said, I've been through that. I've failed out of college, flunked out, lost scholarship money, and was like, man, like what's next? Like, how do I find my purpose? But seeing, like you said, full circle, how that resiliency, remaining persistent, and finding yourself through all that, never giving up, you know, fighting through it. So that definitely shows a lot. Absolutely. I was gonna say, what was another question I had?
Hit me.
With your family, right? So you said your daughter's 5, your son, you said 3.
3.
So you had already transitioned outside the military before your children were
Correct.
born and all that. Okay. So that was probably another dynamic. That was something else that you probably didn't have to consider when making that life decision. What would you say to those like myself? There was a time I was on the fence at the end of my first enlistment. You know, for those trying to make that decision with a family at home, and maybe they're the only source of income. What would be some quick strategies or things to keep in mind when determining what move to make?
Yeah. Well, I mean, if I'm a service member thinking about transitioning out, I got a family. So one is, you know, strategize and lay out a plan, please, right? That's one. Now, my first thought in terms of like, all right, what's my income? You know what I mean? What's my earning potential when I get out? Is it the same? Is it higher? And then, you know, I would connect with someone who recently got out in the same situation and ask them for advice. Also find someone that's been out for a while in the same situation and is doing really well and ask them for advice, and then use that to kind of help guide your next moves. You know what I mean? And I think when you're thinking through, you know, think like the state to move in, the tax implications, the VA benefits, you know, thinking all those things through. One of the things is like, you know, when you about to transition, you know, decrease your spending because you want to save for that, you know, crap happens. You know what I mean? All right, this 6 months I may have a job offer, but then 6 months come, it don't pan out. And you got another 6 months and no income. So you want to factor all those things in. But I think just really being thorough and talking to your partner, like, all right, exploring all opportunities. Like what could it look like if you started a business or if you got to work? Like what could all those things look like? And I would really just create this whole brainstorm. Those white little sticky pads, put them on the wall, and you and your significant other just brainstorm different scenarios, thinking them through, and then just be 3 steps ahead. And then, I mean, you have no crystal ball, so you don't know how it's gonna really play out. But the more thorough you are, the more scenarios you kind of like go through and just think through, the better prepared you are to deal with them, right? And then be prepared for like for each plan, if it goes wrong, what's your plan B? You know what I mean? That's my thoughts.
I got you. I
Now,
got you.
I can't
Good
I
stuff.
can't personally relate to that process, so I'm not going to pretend to understand that. But what I do know the value of financial education and good financial stewardship. Right. And whether I'm talking to a client, and you might not know, but I'm a dating and relationship coach for women
Mm-hmm.
and men. I get some men, and I also teach couples, how to kind of reconnect and get back to the middle. But with my clients and with especially the women that I find that are in abusive relationships or terrible situations, right? Because whether it's an abusive job or an abusive relationship, or
Check.
you got to escape things. You got to be in a position with a little bit of leverage to move around. And if you're bound to your situation, to your job, to your career in the military by finances because of instability, regardless of how much you might have made, financial stewardship and financial education can put you in a position where you have the right, the privilege, and the pleasure of making those decisions with a little bit of weight off of your shoulders. Right? It's a much different conversation to make that decision, or even be facing that decision when you don't have any money saved, when you don't have any investments, when you haven't properly managed your finances. Um, so, not necessarily military specific, but just young men in general.
In general, yeah.
When we get to a place where we get our first adult job, right? Military, I don't give a damn what you're doing. When you get your first career or your first adult job, the first thing you need to understand is learning how to manage your money in a way that puts you in a position that if this job doesn't pan out, if this relationship for people, you don't want to be stuck to anything, because it removes options to be poor, it removes options to be in lack, and it removes options to have nothing in your pockets. And so for those young
Yeah.
brothers enlisting in the military, take advantage of the free food and the room and board and whatever things
Man.
that you're getting. Because what I know and what I've seen is these brothers say, I don't got to pay the rent. I'm on base. I don't got to do this. And they go in, they buying shoes, and they got buying jewelry and shit. And I know a lot of young military men, again, and I'm at the VA. So we having these conversations, and it's like, these men are enjoying the freedom of finance because they don't have any responsibilities outside of maintaining their own shit. But when you get a family and things start developing and women start getting pregnant on the road, you're gonna have something to fall back on. So
Mm-hmm.
that this conversation is one I'm not qualified to have as far as how to get out of it and make that decision. But any man who understands the value of responsibility in finance can tell you that put yourself in a position that they don't make the decision. Survival doesn't make the decision. Fear of ruin doesn't make the decision, because you got something in your pocket and you've managed your nest egg.
That's real.
Facts. Big
Real.
facts. um and in a lot of ways, that having that luxury, having that added support that a lot of people don't necessarily have in the civilian sector, handicaps a lot of us in the military, right? um and like you said, that responsibility, we feel as though it's not ours to have, and sometimes we don't go in with a plan, like Sean was alluding to, because I didn't really have a plan going into the military. Things kind of developed as I went along and as years progressed, in the relationships that I forged. But yeah, we feel like, hey, I got this extra bit of money, and yeah, I hear rumblings about how I should, invest for the future, or contribute to IRA. But like, how many conversations are we really having about that, especially amongst our peers? Like, we hear from maybe leadership or the OGs, but like, are we really taking heed to that? And why isn't it a conversation amongst us? Why haven't we kind of flipped that and adopted that into the culture about having a plan? Yeah, you can have fun with your money, but you got to strategize. You got to plan that out. I got to know when to tone it back. And like you said, having an outlet, say, hey, this military stuff I'm not cut out for it. But are you kind of subject to falling victim to just like, oh, this is the easy way, even though this isn't, my dream or something? I feel that is my calling, but I'm staying back because, yeah, I got free room and board, I got free meals, or whatever the luxury is. Are you just saying, I'll be all right? Are we settling? We just conforming to that because it's just easier, or it's like, okay, I got one life to live. How how much of an impact am I gonna make with this one life? And especially if you got kids, you got a family, you know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
It's a lot to put together. But like I said, before that family comes along, I think your plan for life has to be much bigger, because sometimes with that family, it kind of, restricts you to doing certain things.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
So very
Oh
good
yeah.
stuff,
Oh yeah.
man. Yeah, yeah. But but yeah, we're gonna wrap up the show here in a bit. Any last closing remarks? Anything you wanted to add before we jump off here? Where can we find you, Mr. Motivation? I put your IG up a little bit ago
Okay.
in your URL. Talk
Yeah.
talk about talk about maybe the ebooks and some other content you have available
Yeah, no doubt.
on
Yeah,
these platforms.
the ebook, I kind of came up with, like I said, I had my traumatic transition, if you will, and then in hindsight, I look back like, what are the things I did that what I mean got me on a trajectory to be able to do what I want to do in life, right? So I share that. It's free ebook, www.mister dash motivation.com. There's also this like a success roadmap. My program, I call it the Wake the Beast Way, where I actually focus on helping military men. I say make money move, but really transition to be able to do the things they want to do across the core four, like have success or body. I'm saying fitness. How you feeling, mental state, right? Being. Who's that higher power that you speak to, that voice of reason. What's your relationship there? Balance. What's your relationship with spouse, significant other, family? And lastly is business. Have you started one? Is yours failing? Is it an opportunity to kind of pivot? Because I think in our space, being balanced across that core four gets you on that trajectory to live the life you want to live. And I share that in my 5M free framework worksheet, right? And then you can
Yeah,
always send me a snapshot of it, and we can get on a one-on-one. And lastly, what else I want to say? Yeah, so MrMotivationMusic.com. Also, you can check out my single. Definitely thought provoking. Put a lot of it's a was it a passion project, if you will. And I'll be
yeah,
dropping the rest of the album this year. But yeah. So that's. I mean, you got the same thing for TikTok and IG, Mr. Motivation. The O's or zeros. I
gotcha.
definitely be pouring in, content every day. So, hit me up. I love to hear your thoughts. How you think about the show?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
This is hey, I'm
Yeah.
I'm I'm geared up for that single and the body of work that you gonna put together. I think that's gonna be phenomenal. And like I said, the whole concept behind that, I think that's
Yes,
gonna be
sir.
dope. So yeah, we'll have all that information, all the links below in the description. So
Check.
we'll make sure everybody tapped in. We're gonna have that support. So y'all go out support my man, Mr.
No doubt.
Motivation,
No doubt.
Sean Murphy. All right. Kev, you got anything you want to add before we jump off here?
Oh man, I just want to say it was an honor and pleasure talking to you, brother. Thank you for the things that you've done for our community. Thank you for the
Indeed.
passion that you apply to not only your community, but to your fatherhood. Man, I think every man needs to be encouraged and motivated and inspired to continue that and pass that energy on and that influence and that
Check.
example on to other young people, man. We don't have enough examples, which is why we do this Fatherhood Village thing, man.
Mm,
Right.
Everybody has a different walk, and we appreciate you for sharing yours and obviously taking your struggles and allowing someone to learn from those things as well. So
check.
thank you, man, for everything you're doing, and we appreciate you for talking to us, brother.
No doubt. Like, appreciate y'all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We'll try to have you back on not too long,
Let's
man.
do
I
it.
know
Let's
people
do
want to
it.
hear. I know it's some more conversation we could have got into, but
Yeah.
for the interest of time, we gonna bookmark it right here.
Okay.
But yeah, you all again, please like, share, subscribe. Please continue to support the channel. Like I said, we trying to blow this thing up, man. Reach more people with our word and our message. All right, so we're at the Fatherhood Village on IG. Email us fatherhoodvillage at gmail. Any questions? Anything you want to inquire about? So hit us up, man. Without further ado, Dale Holloway. That's Kev Hick. Peace and love.
Peace and love.